Hi, my name's Tammy Eisenreich, and I'm a parent partner for the Lucas County Board of DD, and I am thrilled today to have Beth McIntosh with us from Northwest Apraxia Support to talk about their wonderful organization that can help families that have children with special needs. Welcome, Beth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for taking up this precious time that you have right now. I know your deadline for your current grant cycle is April 1st, so I do appreciate you fitting us in.
Oh, no problem. And also, I think we made a decision that because we were doing this today, we felt like we should extend the grant deadline by 1 full week.
Oh,
So we didn't want anyone who was getting the information today to not be able to have time to do a thoughtful ask. So, so you have until next Friday now.
wonderful. So April 8th. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Okay. Well, this is one of the things I love sharing with families when I tell them about grants for families are different than grants for organizations because they are parents and grandparents and, therapists that are directly affected by, the needs that these families have. And we just want to pay it forward and help other families on their journey. So right there in itself is, a definite sign of that. So when I was researching you, I see you guys are hitting your 10-year mark.
We did.
Or you did?
So we came into existence a full year before that date. So the date on our website is the date that we actually incorporated and became a 501c3. But we started a full year before that. Because at first we just started as a group of parents who had support group meetings, and we were raising funds for the National Apraxia organization. And so that's actually how it all started, was that we did a walk in Bowling Green for, at the time, I think it was called Kasana, and I think they have a different name now. But our very first event was just to raise money for them because we were a group of moms who had kids that were having difficulty communicating, and that's kind of how it all started.
Wonderful. So tell me what your organization does. Let's start with that. What is the criteria for a family to apply with you guys?
The only truly hard and fast criteria is that you have to be impacted by some type of invisible disability. And then you have to request a service or a piece of equipment that would positively impact the child's life. So we have some guidelines in terms of, we typically try to focus on kids that are between 3 and 18, although I say that, and we've helped kids that were younger, and we've also helped adults, honestly. So I think that all goes back to that we're parents and we just want to help, and we're volunteers. And so if the story gets us, the story gets us. And, that's just how it works. And initially we focused only on therapies. So we only paid for speech and OT and physical therapy. Over the years, we've expanded that. I mean, we've paid for all kinds of things. A fence for a child who was not safe to play outside if they didn't have a fence. So we paid to put in a fence in their backyard. We pay for a lot of summer programming. So we're really excited summer programming is back this summer. So we know that's a cost that is really difficult for parents to be able to cover because it's never covered by insurance, and it's always very expensive. And it's also just, I remember thinking, what am I going to do all summer? And I do not want to see regression over the summer with this loss of routine, and what are we going to do? And so that's something that always takes a hefty amount of our budget, is covering summer programming. We do pay for some equipment. We honestly, in the last couple of years, though, have kind of paid for less and less equipment. We found that kids, we would just rather pay for services. It's easier for us. we can pay direct to the provider. We don't have to worry about ordering things for people. We know that if we pay for a service, that kids are going to use the service or we're not going to pay for it. And it just seems to work out better for us. But yeah, I don't know that there's anything we've ever just said no to if the parent was able to provide a case that it would positively impact the child and it was a request due to the child's disability.
Okay, so one thing that gets brought up a lot when you talk about summer camp, what about transportation to summer camp or from summer camp to grandma's house for the child care that'll be facilitated afterwards, or to a child care facility?
We've done that a couple of times. So usually for us, if it's a request like that, it's just a matter of whether or not the parent and or providers have their ducks in a row in a way that makes it easy enough for us to be able to pay it out. You know, it's something that can get really, I know it gets really expensive. It gets hard for us to pay for it. So if we can find a way to be able to pay for it direct to the transportation provider, then that's not an issue for us ever.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things I tell families is to go to the source. Like, the money is not coming to the families. The families are not going to receive a check. It's going to go to a provider. And so if they know that up front, reaching out to, we've had success with Black and White Cab.
Yep.
I know there's a couple other smaller that are more handicap accessible transportation programs that have done it. I mean, Little Tots as well. But would you ever reimburse a parent? Let's say it's grandma that comes and picks them up. Would you be willing to do that?
We don't. So we don't reimburse direct to a parent or grandparent or anything like that, but we have worked with families to say like, okay, so you're trying to figure out how to cover this expense. Can we figure out what other expense you have that we can pay for? And like, let's try to be creative. So I also would urge people, like, if you really are stuck and you can't figure out how we can help, send me an email and ask. And I have spent many hours on the phone with people saying like, okay, no, we can't do that, but what about this? Or how about we try this? Or have you thought about this? And I don't know that we've ever not found something that we could pay for. So we're willing to get creative.
Sounds like it. Okay.
Mhm.
You go out of your way to find ways to help them. What are ways parents can do to help you guys? Knowing that you are all volunteer run and that funding, is how you guys sustain. So what are things that families can do to help you?
We have a volunteer requirement that's part of our grant acceptance. So if your child is selected to receive a grant, then you are required to volunteer for us over that next year after you've received the funds. And, because of that, we have a lot of families that come back year after year after year, and we love that. Like, we are not an organization that's going to say, like, we already gave you money and like, you can't come back. We love watching kids grow and we love continuing to invest in them. And as long as we have the money to do so, we continue to do that. So there are some kids that we have been funding for the whole 10 years that we've been around, and we'll see them for a couple of years and then they might not apply and then they'll apply again. And, so we love that. And we have a couple of fundraisers. So we have one coming up in conjunction with ACT BG, which is the Bowling Green Chamber of Commerce. And we'll ask for volunteers. We'll also ask people to participate if they're able to. We have a raffle ticket program that we usually do at some point during the year. Our calendar is kind of still all mixed up because of COVID, which really threw us for a loop, as it did everyone. But so our calendar is still a mess. So I'm not really sure when we're going to do our raffle, sometime after we pick grant recipients for this year. But usually we ask grant families to please try and sell 10 raffle tickets and then give us some of their time as a volunteer. And then that's how we keep going.
Yep. Would you like, I can show your website. I did see that you put your volunteer tracking on there. Is that new? I don't remember seeing that before.
I mean, it's been up there a little while. I can't honestly remember when we started doing it that way. Um, it makes it easier for us to do the volunteer tracking when it is up there and people can kind of enter it themselves. It just auto populates into a form for us. Oh, look, there's me and my kiddo. Um,
You might like that one.
yeah, that was cute. Um, so we try to make it as easy as possible. And we also understand that everybody's families are different. So, it might be easy for one family to come to the event and work, and that might be just impossible for someone else. And as long as families communicate with us about what works for them and what doesn't, we're usually able to find something that works for every family so that the volunteer commitment doesn't become stressful. It's hard for us to continue to raise funds without help, obviously. So it does become something that either helps or hurts your future application status. If you volunteer for us and you follow up and you do a great job, then you are likely a shoo-in for the next year. And if you don't follow through, then that doesn't help your chances for being selected the next year.
So you guys have a memory. One of the things I tell families is to always be honest, because don't you feel like as organizations, we kind of talk,
Yeah.
but also you remember, we have a database of giving, and when families are asked, where else have you applied, or what have you done? It isn't just, you can't just I think we're so used to like Social Security not talking to Job and Family Services, who doesn't talk to your school district, where you guys do talk. I mean, you are parents that truly want to help. So a genuine ask is greatly appreciated and definitely wanted. So I was looking, mental health got brought up. You mentioned through your invisible disabilities, you have anxiety and learning disabilities listed. What about when I'm thinking mental health? I know that there's some, with the last 2 years, things have been excruciatingly hard for all kids. So is that an area, I mean, you guys have always kind of hidden those hidden disabilities, but are you finding more mental health requests out there?
I just started reviewing grant applications this last weekend with the stuff that's come in. And at least 3 of them that I've read already have listed anxiety as one of the primary disabilities that they're trying to manage and, is driving their choices. So that's absolutely something that we're seeing. And it's absolutely something that we recognize as being important. And I think it's something also that personally many of the board members' kids struggle with different types of mental health issues, and it pulls at our heartstrings for sure.
So I am noticing it used to be mail only, but now you are accepting email. Did I see that correctly?
Yes. Yep, you can email your entire application directly to me. And as long as it is received now by next Friday, it will be considered. And then all of the other grant dates should remain the same. So I think we'll still be able to notify by the date as it's,
May 1st was on there.
yes, we should still be able to do that. I mean, I'm not entirely certain what volume of applications to expect. So, they all come in at the end. That's how it works. And all of our lives have changed a little bit. When we started this organization, most of us either worked part-time or stayed home with our kids. And all of us work full-time now. So it's a little bit of a different kind of juggling act than it once was. But we love doing it. So.
Okay, so just so you know, everything is going to still reflect the April 1st. We just to kind of have extended it. It'll be on your website, families that are applying and hear it tonight or within the next couple of days. I know that this should get posted usually by Friday. They have it on the Board of DDs. website. That's where it's referred to, and via social media, it'll be changed. But it'll, even though it says April 1st,
Mhm.
going to be the few that know from this. Okay, no, that's great. And it does say May 1st, services between May 31st and November 30th.
I think it's May 15th. Does it say?
No, you're right, May 15th. Yep.
Yeah, because usually we try to run May 15 through 11:30. What that does for us is we catch all of the summer programming, because I know that there are a couple of summer programs that in the past have wanted deposits before the beginning of June. So that's part of our May 15th. We'll try to get decisions made and get that information out. So if anybody's waiting to make deposits or whatever, we'll be able to do that for them and get that handled.
Okay, we had a question about the age. On the application, I do see it says individuals under 23, but earlier in our recording, you mentioned that.
I mean, it's flexible. It's flexible. I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's flexible. So for sure, kids within that age group are going to get a priority, just like children with invisible disabilities will receive a priority. People asking for services versus equipment will receive a priority. You know, what we do every year is kind of take all of the applications. We use a rubric to score them. Everybody gets a score. The score is based purely on how many of these qualifications you meet. And then we look at the story that is written by the parent, and then we rate them, and then we start at the top and we go through them and we give away all the money till it's gone. So often we run out of money before we run out of applications, but we'll try to stretch the money as far as we can. And we don't like to say no.
Okay, well, and I always say the more you share, it gives them more to score. You know, it just makes sense. You know, if you can, do you guys, I'm sorry, do you guys ask for income requirement?
Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that we ask for is on the very first page with the demographics information. We ask people to indicate whether or not they meet the poverty guideline, only because we utilize that information along with race information to apply for certain grants and funding occasionally. And so we need to be able to report that information out, but we don't ask for any income information, and it's not used for eligibility in any way. Right.
I see it right there. Okay. And so that's more for you guys out there asking for more money from the big guys that give you guys. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that the things to look at for our application, to make sure that you have all the pieces and parts. So you want to make sure that you have something that shows what the diagnosis is, like some kind of, you can use that page from the IEP, you can use a letter from your doctor, you can use anything that has it and it's semi-current. I think that it says a year, but usually it's not a thing. You know what I mean? People are able to figure that out. And then you need a letter that is recommending the service that you're asking for, the piece of equipment you're asking for, whatever you're asking for. You need a letter from a professional. So that could be a therapist, a teacher, a social worker, any of those kinds of people work. You send the letter in, and then the make or break part of the application is the story. So this parent story right here, I would almost use those boxes as a checklist. And as you write the story, make sure that you address all of those pieces of information, because that is 100% that's what puts you in a certain spot on the list, is whether you answered all of those pieces of information, whether we have a clear and relevant picture about your child and how what you're asking for will positively help them and you.
Okay. Let's see those. What ages? Are services not covered under Medicaid waivers eligible?
No, they would be.
I mean, unless was there a specific, Jen, did you have a specific? Because therapy, equipment, I didn't know if there was a specific equestrian therapy.
Yep, we've paid for a lot of equestrian therapy. That's not a thing at all.
Okay. They're asking, do we need to have the specific name of the service provider?
Yep. So
May not find them until May or June is what she's like to apply now, but they're still looking at they haven't chose their service provider yet.
okay, so what you can do is explain that fully. The hard part for us is that we need to make decisions based on cost information that would be specific to the provider. And part of the way that your grant is going to be scored is going to be based on like how cohesive your plan is. Like, does the whole plan make sense? So if you can explain to us why you have not selected a provider and give us an idea of what the cost of services would be at some of the providers you're looking for, depending on how many applicants we have, that might work out. It's not going to score as well as somebody who has all their ducks in a row and has everything all figured out. Does that make sense?
It does to me. I was going to make sure the person who asked the question was good with that. Is the best way to contact you via email, especially right now? At northwestapraxiasupport.org.
Yep. Yes. And it might take me at this point, the volume of emails I'm getting is pretty substantial. And like I said, I'm a high school teacher. That's what I do during the day. So it might take me a day or two to get back to you, but I will get back to you. So I'm trying to sift through and answer all of the grant related ones with people like who have immediate questions, who are trying to get their applications done. I'm trying to go through and answer them as quickly as I can and get them back to everyone. And I'm doing it on my lunch hour. So I'm doing my best.
And you're down at Bowling Green, right? Is that where you're teaching?
Yep. I teach science at Bowling Green High School.
Okay. Any other questions? You want to talk about your events in 2022? Do you want to?
Sure. I mean, our next thing is this amazing race event that we're having in Bowling Green. So this is a super fun event. It's like the show, The Amazing Race, and you run all over Bowling Green. You don't physically run, you drive in a car. I want to be clear about this. This is not like a fitness activity. You do a variety of like different funny challenges at each of these locations. And then there's a fun like after party with the band. You want to have teams of 4 to 6 people. And you can either come in with a team or you can just come in like as a single or in a pair and say like, put me on a team, and they will hook you up. It's a super fun day. So this year, all of this money will come to us, which is great. The past 10 years, 11 years, we have had an event in the fall called Family Fun Day. It's unclear what that's going to look like this year. So I would suspect we will still have an event in the fall to raise funds and honor superheroes. But
October 8th date, is that not?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So we're working on it. I think what has happened is that we've gotten to a place where we have new people in new roles, and COVID was hard. So it has changed a lot of things. And last year, our event was a lot of fun, and I think it went really well, but we just didn't make as much money as we've made in the past. And it's a tremendous amount of time. And we had a lot of trouble with volunteer hours this last grant cycle.
What is a realistic number of volunteer hours? Like what on average?
People usually do between 5 and 10. So we ask for 5, I think is what the application says, 5 hours per applicant. So we have some families that will apply for siblings and we max out at 10. So we have some families that we do 3 or 4 of their kids and they still max out at 10.
Can it be a collaboration? Like can grandma help and Aunt Betty help? And then you have mom and dad. So like a effort to put the time in.
For sure. And we even have people who have come to us and they've had extenuating circumstances about, why they couldn't be at the event or why they couldn't, do different things. And we have people even who volunteer their volunteer hours for them. So as long as you communicate with us and we know what's going on, we can usually work something out. I'm not really sure what happened this last year entirely. I think everyone in life is a little overwhelmed. But we had a really hard time getting people to do their volunteer hours this last year. And that put a lot of strain on the board. And so that it got to be a really big issue. So I'm not sure we're going to do this fall. I mean, we're not throwing in the towel. That's not what we're saying, but we're not, I have a senior this next year and I want to go to all this stuff. So we got to figure it out.
You will. It'll fall into place. Like it does. How did people stay updated with you guys? I've showed the Facebook page. I've showed your email or your website. Is it better to be on your email list or like you on Facebook? I mean, what would be?
Both. I mean, both are really good ways to keep up to date with what we have going on. If you are not part of our email list already, you can email that info@NWOapraxiasupport.org and we'll get you added to the email list. And then following us on Facebook is great. I mean, that is where we post all the stuff and things. Right now we're posting about all of the Invisible Disability Awareness Days that we have that, run March through May. And then we have a Here for Good campaign with Jute Mode selling some t-shirts and sweatshirts right now. And then this Amazing Race stuff that's coming up. So Facebook is a great way to keep on top of what we have going on.
Okay, good. Let's see. It looks like all the questions have been answered. I think that's all I have. I mean, unless anybody else has, you guys are amazing. And I hope things pick up. It's hard. I hear a mixed view out there. Some organizations have had amazing events, like golf outing, things because people are itching to get out and do stuff. And then last month we had Project I Am on, and their event was absolutely amazing. $165,000 they brought in. So
awesome.
People want to do things. So just putting that a little bee in your bonnet, that I think the whole "you make it, they will come" type of aspect might definitely play a part. But let's see. Golf outings are a lot of work. That is true. And that's why with iTalk, we grant write. We give so many kudos to you guys for what you guys do with your the fundraising events, because there is a lot of work that goes into putting on, any of those type of things. So, but I think anybody else have any questions? Or we're thrilled that you extended the deadline an extra 7 days for families that are on here. So, spread the word, and the application will be on NWOapraxiasupport.org. And next month we will be, it's the last Wednesday of every month we'll be doing this. I guess I can show you, most of you guys probably already seen the flyer. It will be the last Wednesday. So it's April 27th and it'll be at noon. It's more of like a lunch and learn. And it will be with Stacy Harper from Avenues for Autism next month. So there's one more question. Oh, thank you for the extension. Lots of so we do value what you are doing in the community, and I appreciate you so much for coming in here and sharing your personal site to Northwest Apraxia. I think sometimes parents think you're just in some office somewhere, Yeah,
no, there's no office.
And your dogs were so quiet. So
I made them go away.
Okay. Well, let me see. I have to do this. This is, I'm gonna